Welcome to BPTV. I'm your host Andy Amrine, and this is Handy Andy. So today we're doing chapter 2 of our HydroBlock show. We had done this show well over a year ago and just wanted to update people as far as what's going on with the product that we've fallen in love with called HydroBlock. HydroBlock is a product that moves water instead of your typical French drain systems. It takes water from where you don't want it, moves it to where you do want it. When we do a HydroBlock job or we help people design a HydroBlock job, the main questions is where's the water coming from? Where are you going to send the water to, because you have to send the water somewhere, and also how much water do you have, because there's a lot of times a single board is not capable of handling the amount of water that you have to move, and that's why we will do a double board, a triple board, whatever the job is calling for on it. So today we're going to take you through another residential job where the resident has water that's coming into the basement after rain. So we are installing HydroBlock around that side of the house, but also we are doing a double board. We're going to show you the joints, the alternation of the boards, and also we're showing you a stormwater retention box, which you may or may not have seen as a way of transferring water to a box when you have nowhere to send the water itself. So we have one of our big Vermeer trenching machines behind us, and we're doing this product with one of our good friends, Jimmy Jenkins. So we thank Jimmy for allowing us onto the job, and I want to thank Ed and Kathy Greiser, the owners, inventors, and so forth of HydroBlock, for coming out to spend another afternoon with us. But thank you for tuning in to BPTV, and I hope you enjoy the show. We're at another customer's house here in Bethel Park and doing another HydroBlock installer. So I thought we'd take a minute to explain maybe some of the details of HydroBlock that we didn't go over into the video, Ed, you and I made about a year ago. So just to update people and so forth. This, of course, is this beautiful board. This is called HydroBlock. And this is your invention. This is your baby. But other than it, yes, is a very ugly board. But, sorry, don't take it personally. But this noodle, a better way to describe HydroBlock, and HydroBlock is more than moving water from where you don't want it to where you do want it. Over the years, people have just said with all these nooks and crannies and crevices, it has to clog. But the technology behind it, tell us about this little noodle.
Okay. That little noodle, even though it looks like it's solid, it really isn't. When we create this noodle, there are tiny little pores in there, and they work just like a medicine dropper. When you squeeze the black bulb and you release it and the water gets drawn on in there, that's what happens here. But more importantly, when we take all of these noodles and we make this board, first off, we put this board together without any glue, anything, any binders, anything like that. It's all together really by itself. We're using our proprietary process. Now, again, even though this board looks like it's solid, it's really not. The empty space inside here is right around 48%. And in technical terms, when it's buried under the ground, there's always a lower pressure in there, and water moves from high pressure to low pressure. So it's really drawn inside the board. Once the water's inside the board, what it's going to do is it's going to take the path of least resistance and it's going to follow the series of boards. And that's where we come back to what you always say is we're going to take the water where it is and then we're going to move it to where we want it to go. And that's really just the path. It's just least resistance all the way through. It doesn't clog up because the irregular weave of these boards is the soil and the sediment on the outside. It'll get against the outside of the board, but what happens is the tiny little pieces that are 5 microns in diameter and smaller, they just pass right through. Everything else builds up on the outside, and because there's that drawing force on the inside, it continues to wick that water right through there.
So the water's traveling through the noodles.
Through and around, yes.
Through and around the noodles. And the board is nothing more than holding your noodles together.
Right. It's the transport mechanism.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's the important piece of it.
Right there.
Love the noodles. 100% recycled.
All recycled, yes.
100%.
Yes.
These
we
are
are
plastics
taking,
that are going to the landfill.
If we didn't take it, it would be in a landfill.
Okay. So not only is it made in the USA, it's made in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
At your factory at Conneaut Lake.
Conneaut Lake,
You know,
yes.
so all recycle. It's great for the environment, and
Yes.
it's moving water from where we don't want it to where we do want it. Now, a board like this 7.5-foot board.
Yes.
What is the capacity of this board itself?
Well, this board itself will hold right around 6 gallons of water.
Okay, and water moving through the board.
If we would lay this down flat, from a 1 meter distance, it'll move 14.25 gallons a minute.
Okay,
That
and
meter.
Is that more than pipe?
That's not more than pipe, but the important thing is that's more than any soil could move the water, and including sand, to that pipe. So really, we've removed the drainage as a design consideration, and that's been, again, backed up by all the engineers that we work with every week.
Okay, so at this house we're doing on, the customer has water coming down the backyard and coming down the hillside. So what we're doing is we have one of our installers, Jim Jenkins, here, and with a trencher, he's doing a 2-inch trench around the house, and he's going to pull water from the whole side of the house and the back corner of the house, and we're going to bring it to the front of the house.
Yes.
Now explain that stormwater retention box, because here in Bethel, we cannot discharge water onto the street. So what are we doing with the stormwater retention?
What we're doing with that stormwater box is we're going to divert all of that water into that hollow box, which is made of hydroblocks. And the water is going to stay in there until the surrounding soil can accept it. And then the water will leach back into the soil, it'll drop back into the aquifer where it's supposed to be, not going down the roads and overwhelming the sewer system.
And our state agencies, they love this stuff.
This actually, that product was developed through a public information seminar that the DEP put on. And the question was, Hydroblocks works. Isn't there a way that you could fashion something to have us help us solve this problem? And that was really the genesis of our stormwater box.
Okay, so not every job needs it, though.
No.
I mean, a lot of communities you're allowed to discharge onto the streets and the curbs and so forth.
Well,
I'm not going to say a lot. There are some still.
if they do have a stormwater system in place. But
Yeah.
the bottom line is, the way the state views it is you should be maintaining all of your stormwater, and that means the water that hits your roof, hits your downspouts, hits your yard. It's really supposed to stay
On the
in
property.
your yard. Yes.
Okay, and those boxes can be used commercially, industrially,
Yes.
or residentially on it?
We size them up on our website. We have a tool that shows you
Mhm.
how many of these you need to stay in compliance.
Okay, and that's hydroblock.com.
Yes.
All right, well, let's take another minute and see how good Jimmy's doing with all his trenching work around. But remember, it's all about the noodle. Love the noodle.
Well, we're here on Orchard Drive in Bethel Park today doing a Hydroblocks installation. This gentleman has some water issues with his yard. He has several French drains existing throughout his backyard, conventional French drains. They kind of run down the slope of his yard in different directions. But he was still getting water along the side of his house. So along the side of the house, we've dug a ditch about 60 feet long out into the backyard past his deck. And this is going to go around the house to the front yard where we dug a pit, and we're putting a box in out there for the water to go into and then slowly percolate out into the ground. This installation is a double wide plank installation, so we're putting the Hydroblocks planks in too wide. We still dig the same ditch, a 4-inch wide trench, about 16 inches deep, and put the planks down in, and then backfill it, reseed, a little bit of mushroom manure over top, make it look as good as new. The 16-inch depth is what I like to use on jobs like this so that we get down into the clay that's below the topsoil and upper soil in a lot of yards, because traditionally you run into clay underneath the soil and most of the groundwater is running on top of that clay. and then running toward people's houses. So if we break down into that clay, at least say 16 inches, and then put the planks in, any water that's in that topsoil layer that's running on top of the clay or the hard pack then will drop down into that trench, into the hydroblocks, and flow away to where you're sending it to. So over here we got a shot down into the trench on the side of the house that we've dug, and we're putting the planks in double wide. And also what we do is we stagger the joints. As you can see here, you have a long board there, and right there is the end of the 2 other 8-foot boards. And it's kind of similar to when you lay brick. You stagger the joints on brick or drywall or wall stone. And we do the same thing along here. That way you'll get more of a continuous flow through the planks in the trench, and the water will keep flowing. When we make corners or 45-degree angles, we also miter the boards where they're going together in a 45 degree if we're making a change of direction.
Okay, Ed, this is one of your stormwater retention boxes, and it's hollowed out on the end because I know they're going to be sliding boards probably about halfway down, maybe a third of the way down or something into the box itself. So just give us a rundown of what is the basic design of this, and for what?
Well, actually, Andy, I really haven't revealed this anywhere up until right now, but this is really our top secret HydroBlocks cannon.
Ooh, okay.
We've had a DoD contract for the last 10 years to develop this.
Okay.
All right. This is actually our stormwater retention box that is hollow on the inside, and this is connected to the rain conductors or the downspouts or even the planks of HydroBlocks that are around the yard. And what happens is they go in here, and all of that volume of rainwater goes into this box. There's about 60 gallons inside here, and then it is dissipated over a period of time. As the surrounding soil dries out, the water will leach back out, and it'll drop back into the aquifer, back into the atmosphere. The point is, it's where it should be, where it would be going naturally. And we're just simply aiding the process and keeping the stormwater out of the streets and on your property where it's supposed to be.
Okay, so this one being left open, this is because they're going to slide the planks directly down in there.
Yes.
Now, if you were running a downspout into it, what would it be? This end would be closed and a PVC pipe, circle would be cut and the pipe would be coming out?
There would be a collar where you could directly attach a very clean 4-inch collar where you could slide your pipe or whatever the downspout configuration was.
Okay, now you can put these together if you need more than one box.
Right, they can be sistered together.
Side by side?
Side by side or on top of one another, depending upon what your situation allows for.
Okay, or if you have the length, can you just connect them end to end?
Continue them on, yes.
Okay.
Because the water is going to continue to move through there. And again, on our website, we have a way that is based on the Department of Environmental Protection specifications, the amount of water that you are supposed to mitigate based on the size of your impervious surface. That means your roof, the walkways, your porches, and anything like that.
Now, if you're going side by side or on top, do you still have 4 boards all going all the way around, or do you have to have? How are you connecting boxes together, going side by side or on top?
We could certainly make them fabricate them for you where you would not have this box here, but it's just much easier just to push them
because they could just touch, just like boards do when you insert them in the ground. They're fine to just touch.
Just much
and
easier.
And it'll just leach from one box to the other box as one is empty and one is full.
That's correct.
We like easy. Easy's always better.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. This part of the job is we have coming back through this yard, we have a downspout and another old type French drain system that is emptying into this corner of the house. And it was so close to the house itself, we were able to continue to use the traditional Soren drain pipe down to this area. But what we are going to do, because they have nowhere to run this water, is you can see this nice little trench. It's about 16 inches, and we're going down about 2 feet. And we are going to install in here a stormwater retention box. And a stormwater retention box is a way to hold water, and then as the ground dries, it can dissipate back into the soil area itself. So because you have nowhere to run it, or say you're doing a job and you're not allowed to send the water onto the street, you could install one of these stormwater retention boxes. Now, the stormwater retention box is 4 of the HydroBlocks boards, and they are welded together, and they will hold the water. They will hold 60-gallon-ish of water, And as that water is filled, and that's a normal runoff from a normal downspout on a typical size house. Now, you can do lots of different calculations to get your exact figures, whether you need 1 box or 2 boxes or 3 boxes, because you could always gang these boxes together either horizontally or vertically, depending on how much water you want to maintain. But this one here, due to the calculations, you only need 1 box. So they're going to run the 4-inch corrugated sewer and drain pipe down to the spot because it's already here, and they are going to attach that to one end of the stormwater retention box, and then this will hold the water instead of puddling and causing a lake in this area. It'll hold the water, then just dissipate over time after the storm ends. It'll, after a couple days, it'll dissipate the water back into it. So nice trench, well dug, and we'll insert the box into it. Ed, Kathy, thank you again for coming out and spending time with all our viewers on such an amazing product, the HydroBlock. And you can see this gorgeous backyard, and the owner of the property, Steve, he's going to be able to utilize this backyard again, not worrying about the flooding, the ponding, the water movements, and so forth with it. So I have to think that it warms your heart to know that the product that you've invented and designed actually helps a lot of residents all around the country.
Well, thanks for having us, first off. Yeah, it is. It really is amazing that, something that just came out of here in Pittsburgh, and it's just everywhere, and it just really does give you pause when you see something that's 5,000 miles away working, and we know that everything is going to help here. So, it's been great. Thank you.
Okay. But the product itself, now 10 plus years that you've been in existence, and we've helped you find your path to help residents.
Yes.
And a lot of your jobs for the past 10 years, there's a lot more to HydroBlocks than just helping residents itself. Give us some ideas. I mean, I know a lot about what you do, but does the rest of the world know about filtration and landslides and rooftops and gardens? And give us some of the other ideas that HydroBlocks is used on, and what you've been doing for the last 10 years, not just riding around a lake having parties.
No, well, we do. We really, some of our largest scale projects are the oil pipeline works. When they put the pipelines in, it rains here. We have hills in Pennsylvania. The hills fall down. And HydroBlocks is what they use to dewater and stabilize those hillsides, which is really nothing more than we're doing right here. We're dewatering this fellow's backyard. Nothing needs to be stabilized, fortunately for him, but we've done everything from that to underneath roads, to underneath railroad beds. You can grow grass or whatever you might want on HydroBlocks without soil. Our hydroponic products are really taking off. We use HydroBlocks now. We have a special version, which is called our filter grade, which is a much more dense version of HydroBlocks, and that is used to filter the water. And that directly impacts everyone because we're filtering the stormwater off of, say, a parking lot that would have sediment and whatever else, contaminants that would be floating around there. We can leave you with basically clean water the way it, when it was just a normal rain event.
Okay, so it's actually used like a filter,
As a filter.
Say like a furnace filter filters all the dirt in the air still travels.
Yeah.
So we're using this as a water filter, so it's holding back all the sediment.
Correct.
So if I put this in a stream, but I want clean water on the other end of the stream, the water will still travel through the HydroBlock board,
Correct.
but it holds back all the sediment.
And we've done those forebays and bioswales around Pittsburgh. You can see them over on the east side of town. It's exactly what we do, a lot of that right now. And that's really an emerging market because there's much more emphasis on cleaning up all of the water.
Right.
Not just drinking water.
So rooftops?
From rooftops to underneath your roads to, in your backyard. We're kind of doing it all.
How about freshwater springs? Can it help?
Freshwater springs, it depends.
Depends on the job. Every job's different,
that's
though,
true.
and
But
that's
if you
why
have-
you go and take a look at a job and see how much water you have and
That's right.
whether you can move it or not. I know cascading water's an issue.
Right.
You got cascading water; it's going to travel over top of anything. But so, like everything, we have limitations. But HydroBlock is just, it's an underground gutter system. We've said that before, but it's an amazing product. And Ed, you and Kathy. It's been fun getting to know you guys and everything that you have to do with helping to keep my basement dry.
Thank you.
Kathy?
Thank you.
Okay. Folks, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you watching BPTV. I'm your host, Andy Amrine, and we'll see you again soon.
It's local channels. It's 32 on Broad.